that. And the other thing is, again, you got to consider criteria like, could you keep something like this secret? There'd be a lot of people involved in that. A lot of people in the military would be uncomfortable about openly lying to congressmen about stuff. I think something at this point would have already leaked. If this had been the government doing it, probably would have already leaked. So I don't buy that explanation. As you'll see in the scorecard, it does not rate very high. So I'm rating on a 1 to 10 scale. I won't get into the details of it unless someone wants to get into it. But 5 is about average. 10 is really, really reliable. 0 is, not scoring well at all as a credible explanation. Government secrets are scoring at less than 4, not very good. There was a big theory coming out that it was the government NBC detectors. There was some rationale for it initially, but people have looked into that, and that just does not hold any water. Again, the government has denied it, but and there just apparently don't seem to be a lot of sniffer drones that would be out there, and a sniffer drone is not going to be the size of a small call. So it just doesn't explain a lot of stuff. NBC detectors, that rate's really low. I rate it as a 3 overall across the 7 different criteria. The next one is aliens. There's some people saying that. And again, aliens not for everything. Aliens meaning, especially when you see something that just, takes off out of sight, beyond our technology. They keep getting reports on that. And I'm not going to get into a whole discussion of is that credible or not. But the other thing to add to that does add some credibility to it is it's not so much the drones we were seeing wouldn't be aliens. What they could be, though, a lot of people are explaining this, saying a lot of these drones we're launching drones that are triggered by an unidentified, these used to be UFOs, not unidentified aerial phenomena. One goes out and now all these drones are out, trying to measure it. And so you're seeing drones that are out there looking because there was just, some possibility of some alien or unidentified thing flying around, and those drones have deployed for that reason. And then the next theory, which I've run across, which is a little harder to believe, is that there's a guy who believes that the government is actually deliberately increasing drone activity, and they're readying us for an announcement that there are aliens, and they've been around there since 1947. That's his theory. And there's some rationale to it. I mean, I'm not going to get into do I believe in this or not. I know some really credible people who are absolutely convinced and have evidence that, yes, they did come to Roswell in 1947, and it makes sense. What would bring you to Roswell in 1947? Well, what happened in 1945? We detonated a nuclear weapon in New Mexico. That could have been detected. Takes a while for the aliens to get there. That's where they're going to investigate. Hey, it looks like technology is advancing on this planet. And the reason I know people who I respect who say that they've been involved or their father was involved in exploiting the technology that we discovered from the wreckage there. And so the government, this is the hard part for me to believe. Believing aliens, I can accept that. What I have a hard time accepting is that for over half a century, the government has been able to keep that secret. And there are people, testified before Congress recently, and a lot of credible sources saying we do have a program, but as yet, not much evidence that you can really bank on. And then for me, the really difficult thing is how do I believe that the government was able to keep this secret for so long? And not just our government, but the Russian government that supposedly had dog fights with them and all that. It's just, I don't have that much faith in the government's ability to convincingly lie for long periods of time and keep it secret. But that's the other theory, number 9, is that the government is readying us. So they are deliberately sending out more drones and getting people ready for the announcement that, we got to level with you. There are aliens. We've recovered their stuff. They exist. 10th explanation. Those are the main explanations that I found and then I rated. And of those, the one that rated the highest was roommate reinforced randomness. That they're just, we're getting so many reports now, and a lot of them are just, false reports or information. That's the government's response, basically, is that, you're over panicking, you're seeing aircraft. Yeah, there's some drones, but it's largely commercial testing, blah, blah, blah. On the last 2 that I rated, the ones that scored the highest, is I'm combining things. The explanation that it is enemy reconnaissance and it's also commercial testing scores fairly high, almost an 8. It's a good explanation, and that is the theory I believe in. I believe that, and to be more specific, I believe that what's been going on for the past several years and is still going on today is that Chinese agents, there's thousands of them in the U.S., no doubt about that evidence. A U.S. sheriff even reported late last year, he came back from an FBI briefing and he put out a video, probably wasn't supposed to, and he just said the FBI just briefed him that the Chinese have safe houses in every single state in the United States. We know there are thousands of Chinese agents in the U.S. We've had tons of espionage cases where we've tracked Chinese down and prosecuted them. And by the way, a lot of these cases relate to things like aerospace technology and drones and spying on naval bases, etc. So that fits as well in this. But the most important thing I want to add to this is I think these are Chinese agents operating via a front company, and a drone front company, probably a taxi company. So there's over 200 companies we know of that are working in this space. China has some of the best already and biggest urban air mobility, UAM, urban air mobility, or air taxi companies. China's got one. And if you're going to operate that, again, where are you going to be operating it? New York City, New Jersey. So that makes sense for that. And it certainly makes sense for operations over military bases. Chinese agents using a front company, an air taxi company. So they got great cover. And, in the military, we like to do concealment. I can even tell you the Russian words for it: Maskirovka, disinformatia, and hiding in plain sight is the best thing you can do. Because if you got some secret base, it could be found. If I've got an air taxi company and the U.S. comes knocking on my door, what are these drones doing? Well, they're practicing. They're going out at night because, we're a commercial company. We've got secrets. We're flying at night, and we're testing, flying in the New Jersey corridor. And so you've got really, really good cover to do this. And most, if it's a front company, they have legitimate work. They actually are developing drone technology and if it's China, stealing other drone technology while they're out doing it. That makes a lot of sense. And the last explanation was it's enemy reconnaissance, and it's also R-cube, Rument reinforced randomness. That is definitely going on. So I think the explanation for the drone activity we've been seeing is that it's probably a Chinese front company is doing the worst of it, the flying over the military bases to be sure, and a lot of the New Jersey activity as well. They're developing air taxis. That's their legitimate cover, but they're also, while we're flying our air taxi route, let's go over Pickney and in New Jersey and take some photos there or get some imagery, some intel collection there. And then there's also a lot of Rument reports. So you're getting a lot of false reports and people are just looking. So to me, that explains what's going on. But the government explanation that they give that we don't know what it is, but you don't need to worry about it, is an absolute lie. I don't buy that for a second. Almost no one does. And that's a pretty sad statement on the state of our government.